Welcome, everyone. My name is Ray, and I'm excited to present this session on how Dynamics NAV users can start planning for a migration. We'll start off with a short introduction, then we'll talk about how to perform an internal evaluation and what that means. Afterwards, we'll go over some key consideration factors. We'll end it off with a discussion on how to know when it's a good time to move and share some actionable steps. An introduction. Before we get started, I want to share a little bit about me. I'm a team lead at Encore Business Solutions on the Dynamics 365 Business Central team. My team specializes in implementing Business Central for many different businesses that span across different industries. I've been with Encore for the past 7 years, and I have 20 years of experience implementing Dynamics ERP systems. I've worked with NAV since version 2009, which is when it changed to the modern interface called the Role Tailor Client. It was a great change that modernized Dynamics NAV. A trip down memory lane for myself. On the left side is the beginning of the modern user interface. It's Dynamics NAV 2009. Fast forward a few years later, on the right side, there's Business Central. Visually, the home screen is modernized, but with great updates and improvements. Dynamics NAV users will be comfortable with the familiarity of Business Central. The search bar is there, and so is other areas. If your business is on Dynamics NAV or Navision, you'd want to start thinking about your organization's next steps with your Dynamics solution. A natural path for Dynamics NAV on-premise users is to move to Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is the latest iteration of this robust Microsoft ERP system. It is designed as a cloud solution. There are many benefits of having your ERP system based in the cloud. It has a very high uptime percentage of 99.9% with their service level agreement, improved integrations, and easier updates. The security is robust with constant and consistent updates. If your ERP system isn't updated regularly, it can have an impact on your business. The savings on your hardware and backup costs is important for any organization. You will not have to pay separately for cloud hosting, as everything is included in one fee, including software, cloud hosting, and management services. Every organization is different, which means that everyone is in a different readiness state, and they can start planning for a change. This session will be helpful for organizations using Dynamics NAV that are in various states of planning and evaluating a move to the cloud ERP. Let's move on to internal evaluation. Internal evaluation of your current state. We'll start off with a description and definition of NAV in Business Central Lifecycle. It's important to know where your company is at in terms of the support lifecycle. The Microsoft Dynamics NAV support lifecycle is a 10-year support lifecycle from Microsoft. It is defined in 3 main areas. The first phase is the mainstream support. For 5 years, you will receive new features, security updates, enhancements, and non-security updates. Once that expires, you move on to extended support. The next phase is extended support. For the next 5 years, you will receive security updates and not new features. And the last phase, number 3, is beyond end of support. there will be no updates from Microsoft. Please keep in mind, Encore still supports your NAV and Business Central in any of these three states. But if there's a bug or an issue that Encore cannot resolve and reaches out to Microsoft for assistance, and you're beyond the end of support phase, Microsoft will probably ask you to upgrade or update to a newer version of Business Central that's either on mainstream support, which is preferable, or the extended support. Here is a diagram illustrating the NAV lifecycle support. From this diagram, you can see the first column is the version of Dynamics NAV. The next column was when it was introduced, the start date. The third column is mainstream end date, and the last column is the extended end date. From this diagram, you can see that the mainstream support dates for NAV has ended. NAV 2009 R2 and NAV 2013 are beyond the extended support date. However, Dynamics NAV 2015 to 2018 are still supported in the extended support phase and will stay there for a few more years. Microsoft began enforcing an 18-month life cycle. In short, that means a major release comes out every 6 months, and at the end of 18 months after the version is released, that version is no longer supported by Microsoft. Here is a diagram illustrating the life cycle. It's called the Modern Lifecycle Policy. In this diagram, it shows for different versions that update every 6 months. For that version, in the first 6 months, it indicates features, bugs, regulatory fixes will be released for this cycle. The next 12 months indicates bugs, regulatory fixes that's released with this cycle. With automatic updates, you don't have to worry about being on an unsupported version. The automatic updates are applied at your selected designated window of time. For example, Saturday at 3 a.m., so that the updates can happen when no one is working during that time. Moving on into key consideration factors. This is the next session, key consideration factors. Upgrade versus re-implementation differences. There are two main methods of getting your ERP system to the latest version of Business Central. We can upgrade your current environment or implement Business Central. In an upgrade, we'll take the existing NAV and upgrade the code, the customizations, and the data to Business Central. You'll be using an updated system, the same as before. The focus of an upgrade is as is. There's no opportunity for changes. For example, you cannot change your dimensions, clean up your vendor list, clean up and redesign your chart of accounts. Your data, including the historical data, will be upgraded to the latest version of Business Central. We will also evaluate your customizations to determine if they should be brought forward. The more customizations you have, the more work effort is required. Some customizations might not be required by your business anymore, and those won't need to be upgraded. Some other customizations are covered as new features in Business Central. An example would be email remittance. It's now standard in Business Central. Another example is the out-of-box workflow approvals. For example, approval for purchase order, purchase invoice, and general journal batches. In a re-implementation of Business Central, you'll be able to clean up your system so it runs with less clutter. The clean chart of accounts, vendor, and customer and inventory master files will only be imported. Any inactive or obsolete master records won't need to be imported into your new Business Central system. Only the opening balances of the subledger, for example, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and inventory, those will be brought forward into Business Central, keeping it clean with less historical clutter. The quality of the data. It will be a great time to review your chart of accounts, your dimensions, and reporting requirements. Things will have changed. You may not need all the reports that you have today going forward. With an implementation, you'll be able to adjust and clean up master records and potentially create new reports, dashboards, and KPIs. You can review for inactive and obsolete data, depending on your government and audit regulations and requirements. In a re-implementation of Business Central, you will only bring in the opening balances for the subledger modules, for example, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and inventory. Your new Business Central will have a cleaner set of data. It will also be faster with less obsolete data. For example, when you're opening lists and searching for master records, it'll be a shorter list. It will improve the user experience with the ERP system. The next key consideration factor is the historical data. You will have an option of using an application called PopDocs. It's from a Microsoft vendor named E1 Solution. It places and converts your historical database into the Azure Data Lake. Then, using PopDocs within Business Central, you can query your historical data in the application in list forms. Those can be exported into Excel and lives within Business Central. It can also combine the data from your data lake and with Business Central data. An example would be a list of sales transactions. That's a list that queries both the data in the Azure Data Lake and Business Central, with one column indicating which system it came from. This is valuable as you can perform more analysis of your data and including the historical. These lists can be adjusted and created for your business reporting needs. It's ideal to review the length of time you've been on NAV. The longer that you've been on NAV, the more historical data there will be. With more historical data, it will clutter your Business Central environment. In an implementation of Business Central, you'll be able to clean up your data, and as a result, your system will be optimized. So even if you're not ready to move to Business Central yet, it's good to start thinking about your historical data and what needs your business will have when you move to Business Central. The next key consideration factor is the degree and type of customizations in use. You will need to review past customizations and unique business process to see if any has changed. Some of these customizations might already exist in Business Central, and there may be no need for a unique business process anymore, as there may be an existing option in Business Central. Next will be to review the existing integrations to other business systems. Are they still required, or do they need to be upgraded or rebuilt? This is something that Encore can help you understand and evaluate. There are some ISV products, add-ons, that replace customizations made in NAV. An advantage of ISV add-ons is they will be upgraded and aligned with Business Central's upgrade schedule. Now, let's talk about when it's the right time to move. How do you know when it's the right time to move? The first one is review the support lifecycle. First, review the support and the lifecycle of your Dynamics NAV and know which readiness state you're currently at. Thinking about the table that I showed in the previous slide for the support lifecycle. If your version of NAV is no longer in the extended support, then that's an important factor to move to Business Central. Those that were in the green zone, NAV 2015, 16, 17, and 18, will still be supported through the extended support for a few more years, from 2005 through to 2028, depending on your version. As I mentioned earlier, the longer you've been on NAV, the more data there is, and as a result, slower the system. When you open lists, lookups, and reports, it will have to search and load up all data records, even the inactive or the obsolete ones. Number 2, security and patches. Does your current NAV require security or patches to keep up with the current regulatory requirements? Older versions might not get these specific updates. This can be vital to your company's data security. The latest security patches will automatically be applied to your Business Central, and that will lower your security risk. Keep in mind the advantages of being on the cloud. As there is no hardware involved, you won't have to purchase a server. This helps eliminate some risks because an older server software is more vulnerable to ransomware and hackers, and servers can crash. In Business Central, you'll always be on the latest version of the solution through 2 major updates that's pushed throughout the year. There are minor hotfixes that gets pushed out every month. Number 3, new modern functionality. Have your business processes outgrown your existing configuration and you're wanting to move forward? To take advantage, you'll need to be on a newer technology, such as Business Central. One of the great modern functionalities is the interoperability between Microsoft products and Business Central. This is possible with Microsoft tools that you're already familiar with, for example, Word, Excel, Teams, and with tools that you may be less familiar with, for example, Power Platform and Power Automate. You can extract data in Business Central via Excel queries, and you can get live data. You'll be able to build charts, dashboards, and KPIs off of the information. Business Central will work anytime and anywhere because it's platform and browser agnostic. As long as you have a good internet connection, you can access it on any platform with an internet browser. Number 4, new business requirements. Has your business changed where it's hard to retrofit your existing configuration setup? For example, the inventory warehouse, bank information. These areas have modernized. For example, using barcodes and a warehouse management system, or importing bank statements and e-commerce connectivity. Another example is workflow approvals that's built into Business Central. That can help you with your approval process of transactions and with their built-in notifications and notification emails in Business Central. The staleness of your data. For example, How many of your dimension values are not being used? All the dimension values will show up on search lists and reports. Similar with customers and other master data. When you are entering a transaction, the customer list that you're looking up will be very long. Also, do you need to merge some customers? Have there been many duplicates of master records that was created? Another example is inactive vendors. You cannot delete them, but since there's transactions related to the master files, they'll always be there when you open up the list and look up. When your system has so much data, it slows down your system. I know that's a lot to think about, but I want to remind you, Encore is here to help. Lastly, let's talk about some actionable steps that you can take now. There's a whole online world for you to peek into Business Central. I recommend watching some training videos from Microsoft through Microsoft eLearn to see where Business Central in action. You can see more of the look and understand the feel of it and what the differences are. Through Microsoft eLearning, you'll be able to search by role or by module. These videos are broken down into short 5-minute clips where you can learn and see Business Central in bite-sized pieces. Encore also has some excellent blog articles and training videos for Business Central and its functionality. It's written by our consultants. Some examples are videos on common processes such as entering an AP invoice, sales invoice, and performing a check run. Even if you're not ready to learn how to do these steps of these processes, it's a good way to see how the process works in Business Central. If your business processes have changed, start to document them. How do you want a system to work for you and not how you work for the system? Discuss your current pain points with your team. You might be surprised at some of their pain points. Which areas of the system are you not taking advantage of? Are there too many workarounds? Documenting your processes will help you determine your next steps. Know the problem areas. Know where you need to expand your ERP system. What are other technologies that you have that's old? Do they have paths forward? Do they integrate with Business Central? Start to ask questions. You can start to analyze and clean your data, for example, inactive records. Discuss with your internal team about the quality of data, and you can redesign the processes and have a clean slate. Start to review the current master and transactional data. Clean up ready to be moved to Business Central. For example, inactive customers and vendors and GL accounts that aren't being used. There might be some inventory items that's obsolete. We've included a link where you can sign up for a trial access to Business Central and to the demo company. You'll be able to experience Business Central for the user interface and perform test transactions. Reach out to Encore to assist you with the evaluation of your current scenario and business process. We can provide options and a roadmap for your dynamic solutions. This concludes my portion of the session.